And what is going on, world? Typically I say Team Elite, but this is not just going to the Team Elite audience. This is going to the entire world. We got a special edition of Elite Perspectives for you guys today. And I'm not going to be super excited to try to hype things up, because at the end of the day, this is like a serious discussion we're about to have here. I got my original mentor, Wally. I got the queen of finance, Dr. O, and the king of perception, my guy, T-Spice. And we're just going to have a real discussion about George Floyd, because I think it's something the world just needs to hear. And I want you guys to be able to hear what's real. You know, there's no sugarcoating. We're just going to give it to you straight. So we're just going to bring you a straight up, legit discussion. We haven't even talked about our opinions on anything beforehand, so you guys get to experience the discussion live with us. But first, I just want to start by just having a moment of silence for George Floyd and all the people who've lost their lives over racism, all the victims, and really just for whatever we're going on, like in our economy, in our country, and all the change. I know there's still a battle that needs to be fought. There's going to be more lives lost. So for everything that's happened in the past and all the coming events, I just want to take a quick moment of silence for that. Awesome. Thank you guys for that. And just want to hop into this discussion. I think I'm gonna start with you, Dr. O. I think I'm gonna bring the question to you first, and I'm gonna take it around to everybody else. But I just gotta start by asking, what is your take on this situation? Just plain and simple. What's your take on it?
I think that the loss of life, the disrespect of Black lives, the disrespect of humanity is ever present, right? And so you see a human crying out on the ground who happens to be Black or African American. So the labels automatically are there, but it's a human crying out for his own life. And so what was taken from him was his own breath, to be able to breathe his own breath in his own body, within his own lungs, within his own system. And the things about him, his manhood gone, his fatherhood gone, his humanity gone, his soul, his life, his spirit, everything just stops and ceases to exist because someone did not want him to have sufficient air in his body. So people have called it a false flag. People have said that it was done on purpose. People have said whatever they want to say. It's not real. My friend Lee Merritt is the attorney on this case, one of the attorneys on this case, and touching someone's cold, dead body makes it a reality, right? So it's as real as they come. And the disrespect of human life is ever present. The fact that it happens to be another Black life is ever present. And I feel like, from my own perception, why this has hit me the most is because I heard someone crying out to be able to live their life. Not that we haven't heard it before, right? It's just that I heard it in a different kind of way, because now my system is open to the fact that the eyes are open. There's no mistake in it. There's no questions. There's no coulda, woulda, shoulda, wins, and no, well, if this, and if there's nothing. There's no need for investigation. This is it. It's a wrap. So I call everything, before George and after George. So it's BG and AG at this point, right? So we didn't see Jesus Christ get hung, so they can use that against us, right? We didn't see Jesus Christ get hung. We didn't see Dr. Martin Luther King assassinated. We witnessed it. We saw it from a perspective, but now I'm in this era and I'm watching it for myself, right? So it really affected the fact that there's no mistake in it this time. There's nothing you can do. And it's not the whole enough is enough. There's no, oh, I'm tired. I'm absolutely done. right? So George was the last person for oh my, right? So that's it for her, right? Just check out. We're going to another level. We're going somewhere else. So that's how I feel.
Awesome. I agree. How about you, big bro Wally? What's your take on the situation?
I mean, Dr. O summed it up in great perspective, man. I don't even know if it's really about our take. It's society gaining the understanding. You know what I mean? Like, we get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, we've been getting it for a long time on the front lines and wherever else. You know what I mean? Like, the hardest part for me is having to sit down and talk to these young cats and even my kids over and over and over and over and over again, trying to reconfirm them of something that I can't absolutely reconfirm them of. You know what I mean? Like, I can't tell them that tomorrow is going to be any better. I can't tell them that everybody's going to be safe. And, you know, as a father, your number one job, aside from providing, is to protect. And to know that there's powers out there that go beyond your norm, and to think that we've been dealing with this for over 400 years, and even having to have conversations with people where, you know, they're trying to tell you how you're supposed to view this, how you're supposed to handle this, how you're supposed to perceive this, and how we supposed to do this and that to make other people happy. And I'm like, look, other than when we actually controlled the world as a people, they've never respected us, period. Don't matter how we do it, what we do, we're going to be viewed the same way by those who choose to see it that way, period, point blank. And so to tell me not to be violent, which I'm not saying that's the answer, to try to quote King, like I'm unaware of King's stance or his multiple stances that changed over his time when he was doing what he was doing. Or I even had somebody tell me that Malcolm X was nothing compared to Martin Luther King. And I'm like, wow, that's how you feel? But that's why I don't do the social media conversations, because I feel like people move different when they got to look you in the eye. People have to be held accountable. You understand? Like, I come from the era where if you say something, you got to stand by that when you see people face to face. So to think that you can do anything you want to do, I'm not from that cloth. You understand? Like, and I'm not saying that I got to be aggressive, but if you bring that energy, I'm definitely willing to get that energy back. And Jeremy, you know that about me more than anybody. I'm the coolest cat in the planet until you cross me or somebody within my circle. And as a people, I just won't stand for it, and I won't tolerate it. And I've had to tell a few people on Facebook, look, I'll come wherever you want to meet at. We can either handle this as civil people and have a conversation, or we can do the other thing. And I'll be that savage that you like talking about so much. I'll be that beast that you want to paint us as so much. But understand, we're not going to tolerate these excuses. Every time it happened, it's to the point now where my mind just goes to, how are they going to try to spin this one? What's the elaborate play that they're going to try to use to make this one seem like it's everybody's fault except? And now that you can't blame the person who's no longer here, they want to blame rioting and protest and this, that, and the third. And it's like, wow, so you always got something that you can use as your go-to for why this is happening, other than the actual reason as to why it's happening. And you don't see color. We're all in this together. All right, cool. Cool. So, you know, I don't really have the complete answers, but I just know at the end of the day, man, we've been beyond tired, and we've been beyond fed up, and we've been beyond trying to be civil. You know what I mean? I think the civil rights movement, everybody was pretty much trying to do it the kumbaya way, right? And we see the end results of that. So it's like, what else you expect at some point? I don't know a time in history where things change because of people being nice. That's any section of life that you talk about. When change happened, it happened as a result of people actually having to stand up and making sure their voice was heard. And I ain't seen it no different. If they can show me something different, I'm willing to check it out. But I haven't seen it. You know what I mean? And again, I'm not advocating that we got to get out here and destroy nothing. I'm just saying, you know, force is often met with force. And sometimes that's the only way to make that change. You know what I mean? So, but I'm still saying peace, love, and respect as long as I can.
Awesome. And on that note, Mr. Love himself, T Spice, what's your take on the situation?
So, from where I'm sitting, we've seen this time and time and time again. We've been having the same conversations for years at this point, decades, actually a couple of centuries. But like Dr. O said, there's still something very unique about this situation in that it's more cut and dry. There is no conversation to be had about this. And while I'm very saddened by, the loss of life and the disrespect for Black lives, I am still seeing a great deal of unity across the country because of it. And I don't want that to go unacknowledged, that there were protests, massive protests across in every single state and across the seas, France and Italy and Paris and all these different places. And one of the biggest things is I'm also seeing a lot of police officers coming out, not only speaking out against police brutality and vowing to reform our policing system, but a lot of them are actually quitting. They're putting their badges down behind this and saying, look, this is what I put my chips on. This is what I bet my livelihood on. And I don't know what's next, but this ain't it. You know what I'm saying? So I see this as definitely a big milestone where we can start saying before George and after George. We haven't seen anything like this. And my personal experience was that when we were being constantly bombarded with these images of Black bodies, unarmed Black men being shot in the street, it was starting to affect my mentality to the point where I couldn't operate the same way I needed, the same way I was or the way I needed to. And I remember with Lando, actually breaking down into full-blown tears. And that was the first time that had happened. Although I do feel a deep sadness for all of the cases that I've come across, that was the time where it was a turning point for me. And I needed to pay attention to how much and how I was consuming, this type of content. And I decided to be aware, but to not dwell in it, right? I would see it, I would be aware, and it would be a reminder every single time. This is work, work, work. This is why you do what you do. You have to do something. Like, you have to uplift the Black community. You have to make a change and a shift. But this time it was different. I couldn't escape it. I don't feel like I could have. So for the past couple of days, I've completely, for the most part, I've disregarded my normal routine, and I have just been in George Floyd, in all of the content, all of the comments, anybody that had questions, anybody that needed some clarity on why police brutality and Black on Black crime is not the same thing, I was there for that conversation. You know what I'm saying? So this is definitely a major turning point, and I feel like I'm in a position to actually say, okay, guys, get in contact with me, because this is what we about to do. We about to start our business. We about to get our mind right. We about to really level up in 2020. 2020 is not over by any means, by any stretch of the imagination. And I'm excited to feel like I'm in a position to actually offer real change. And I'm excited about that.
Awesome. And I think that's probably the goal that we're all striving for right now, is just change. This is one of those situations, like you guys were talking about, it really just opens up your eyes. Like, and me, like, I try to keep my whole piece about all the race stuff. Like, I come from a mixed family. My wife's half white, half Iranian. So, like, we got Black, white, and Middle Eastern all in one household. So we try to show the equality of races just in our household. And it's hard to, like, when stuff like this happens, though, I'm like, man, it just flashbacks my mind and my eyes to, regardless of how much I fought for the unity and equality of races, how much I've gotten the short end of the stick just for being a Black man. It really opens up my eyes to, like, it's obvious in our day-to-day. It's just most of us, we stay so silent about it because I don't know if it's because we don't feel like we have a voice, or if we felt like it was just not a good fight. But for whatever reason, I feel like Black Black people as a whole collective haven't used our voice as much as we probably should have been in the past. And it took an event like this for us to realize, man, if we don't speak up, then no one's ever going to take us serious. But the next question I want to ask, I guess I'll start with you again, Dr. O, with this one. What's your take on everything with the riots and the looting? Like, what's your opinion about all that stuff?
Well, you come from a nation that was rioted and looted in order to be established. So I don't understand why people are such in shock by that. I'm in shock that people are in shock. I'm confused on why people are confused, right? The very nature of these colonizers and these very, very evil, vile people has never changed. It's not getting any better, right? Sean King wrote a very piece. He's spoken about this piece thousands of times, that history does not repeat itself. It doesn't change. It's not getting better. What you'll see is some really good spikes and some low spikes. But history, over the course of history, humanity has done some stuff to each other. I mean, it is. Even in the Bible, throughout the entire Bible, especially in the first books of the Bible, it talks about looting, right? Take all their stuff, take their women and their children, take their loot, get their stuff, kill them, right? It's a lot of blood and gore, even in the Bible, less than only in history and society. When we get into historical values of the 1400s and 1500s, the very nature of humanity on some sides have looted people and burnt bodies, not buildings, not cars, right? Not property. Literal humans have been looted and murdered and oppressed and damaged, mangled, raped. And so why are people in such utter shock and just so appalled by rioting and looting, when I even saw some people saying Dr. Martin Luther King would not appreciate this? The very night he was murdered, they went crazy. Okay, so these are normal. And listen, I'm telling anybody right now, if they murder me, y'all please tear this whole place up. Tear it up, burn it up, do what you do, because it's not right, right? So I've heard the saying, of course, Dr. Martin Luther King's Jr. quote about, riots are the language of the unheard. I agree. But this country, where it was built off of Aboriginal and indigenous people being looted and burnt and murdered and rioted against, so much so they still own this land and have created the trustees of this land is the American government, right? So the American government still doesn't even own this land. It's still owned by the Apache Nation. And the Apache Nation has written it over to the government as trustees of the land so that they can do what they need to do as far as business goes. So to this day, they still don't even own this country that they've looted. So I'm confused as why people are confused, and I'm shocked that people are shocked. I do not agree with rioting. I don't agree with pillaging people, raping people. I don't agree with looting. But I'm still confused as to why people are confused, because it's happening all over our world. Our very continent of Africa has been raped and pillaged and still is, drained for resources on a regular daily basis. It is constantly looted, constantly rioted inside of, naturally. So how I feel about the riots is that it is a very normal way of communication throughout history, even going back into Bible days. So I don't know why people are in such shock. And if you want to do something about it, I agree. Start making solutions to correct that behavior. Absolutely, I support that. But as far as regular humanity, I don't even play with the game. It is what it is. I don't know what else to say, but it's kind of the language of the culture of the people that created this country. So what is everyone upset about?
What about you, big bro? What's your take on all the rioting and the looting?
I mean, again, I'm with Dr. O. You feel me? Like, this ain't new. And what else do you expect? And some would say we learned it from them. So, but my biggest thing is, if that's the only thing you focused on, and you spend all this time being vocal about the rioting and the looting, then where is your real concern? because you weren't that vocal about the deaths. You were very vocal about Kaepernick kneeling. So where's all, like, again, it seems like these people are very selective in trying to find something to hide behind as a reason to pull away. You know what I mean? And it's like, and I've told a couple people straight up, like, if that's what you feel, we don't need your support. You're not here for the cause anyway. So keep it moving. I ain't got no problem with that. You know? And let's just be real. If you can't separate the groups of people, you don't want police to be grouped together as one thing. You don't want white people to be grouped together as one thing, but you want us to be grouped together as one thing. How does that work? What part of the game is that? You understand? Like, so if you can't separate those looting or rioting from those still pushing the agenda and the cause, that's your problem. That's something you got to figure out. Because you can't use that group to say, I'm not going to support this group. That just don't make sense to me. You know what I mean? But I'm also at a place of, I don't really feel like explaining that to these folks no more. You know? I really don't. I don't mind having civil discussion and conversation, but it's like there's enough examples out there. Since social media is such a powerful thing now, there's enough examples out there. You can go to this little device called Google and find out as much as you really want to. You don't have to live in a closed bubble anymore because there's a lot of information. And if you got time to tell us how we shouldn't be doing this, that, and the third, you got time to research, study, and come to a real conclusion about what's going on in this life. You know what I mean? Again, I ain't telling none of my people to go out there and do nothing crazy. But I got a homeboy right now at the house who was shot all in his back last night here in Charlotte for peacefully protesting. Documented it, put it up online live so it could be seen what was happening, the tactics and the strategy that was used to corner them while leaving a peaceful protest where no issues had occurred, and push this agenda to where they wanted them to rebel and respond. And the people chose to go ahead and take the beating. But everybody not going to do that. Everybody not going to wait for that. I'm not sure, you know, it's always been this talk about the race war and I'm not sure what the agenda is or the goal is, but there's certain things that are happening where I know somebody's on the phone, on the text, on the something telling people to move a certain way because it's too uniform throughout the country how these things are happening. And you can't tell me that's just spontaneously happening. You know what I'm saying? So, but whatever the goal and the agenda is, at some point in time, the bill comes due. So whether that's our lifetime or the one after, somebody gonna answer. And I hope, the only thing I concern myself with is that my kids and the other young kids of this era can live and still have a world to live in. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But I'm also waiting for the mothership to land and just change all this somehow.
Please and hurry. Please and hurry.
I'm almost like, yo, that's got to be the answer. That's somebody's coming down. They're going to say, you know what? Snap a button, this change y'all good. That's what I'm waiting for. Yo.
I'm with it. They heard my T-Spice. I know he's next. That's what I was talking about this morning. I'm done. I'm just done. Let's come pick me up, mama. You know,
right.
where you at? You know, we know we're not here. Come get us. Thank you.
For real. For real.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. We ain't scared. We out of here. I'm up.
Yes, sir. It's all on you.
All right. So there's so many different angles you can look at it from about looting. And I've decided that it's not worth our energy to worry about people looting because we know what's most important. Like, I'd rather lose a target than a life. Like, there's nothing in Target that's more valuable than a life. And while do I agree with the response? I don't think it matters. I don't think that anybody's opinion matters. When you slap somebody, it is not up to you to decide how that person reacts to you smacking them. You know, saying that we have a lot of deep-rooted trauma. And yes, we're going to get triggered. And this is an understandable reason to be triggered. And I think that to shift the focus from the actual root cause, the root problem, to the reaction is detrimental and it's irresponsible. And I see a lot of people like Killer Mike talking about burning down your own communities and things like that. And it makes sense. But at the same time, we got bigger fish to fry than worrying about the community target that doesn't belong to us anyway. It's somebody else's community. I think that, well, I just put out a freestyle yesterday. That's something that I do, I guess. And one of the things I said was loot up a target because we targets, right? And I said that to say, look, this is happening because of what has been happening for years. You know what I'm saying? To take the focus away from that and blame us for taking the focus away from that, you know, is very American. But I'm not promoting looting, but I'm definitely not condemning them for it either. Get you your TV or toast oven or whatever y'all finna get. Like, do what you gotta do. And it's funny because we're all on this platform right now as entrepreneurs, as people who are business owners, and as people who, you know, probably wouldn't appreciate it happening. You would assume that we wouldn't appreciate it happening to our business, but we're still coming from an understanding viewpoint that people are hurting. People aren't just, you know, people you call them opportunists, but there would be no opportunity if there was no killing. And that should remain the main focus.
Awesome. Yeah. This thing, it's had me torn, man. Like when I first heard about the riots and the looting, my first instinct was like, what? Why would people do that? Like, that's not what this is about. And then I started thinking, like, just my own business with marketing tactics I learned from you all. Like, you talk about the pack mentality, you know, it's all about speaking up, getting noticed. And I was like, man, when you've been, as a people, held down, pushed to be quiet, trying to say, hey, like, we're equals, and people aren't listening, then part of me looks like, hey, you rioting, you looting, man. Like, bro, that's just marketing, and the product we selling is our equality. Like, listen, speak up, like, notice us.
Right.
But then there's the other part of me that's torn. I'm like, how many people are actually doing it for the cause, and how many people are just taking advantage of an opportunity? And as soon as I started thinking like that, I got on Insta, and I don't know if you guys know Billy Jean. Billy Jean is marketing, black marketer, really, really top guy. And he posted video outside of his office, his office, his neighbor's office, all busted in. And it was a bunch of white teenagers just taking advantage of the opportunity. And they was like, well, if everybody else is looting, they were breaking in and looting too. So it just had me torn. So I'm like, you guys, like, I can't say one way or the other. Like, is it right? Is it wrong? Like, and it brings me to the last question I have, because I know at the end of the day, all we want is a change. We want equality. And the last question I had is, how do we actually go about creating change? So, Dr. O, I want to start with you. How do we create that change?
It's a ton of stuff we're going to have to do. You know, it's an uphill situation. We can start some places, right? So just a few basic solutions. Start denouncing and stop accepting racism and white supremacy, right? There's no such thing as equality, in my opinion. There's equity. You can get a little equity here, but there's no equality, right? So they keep calling us the dominant race. So we're not dominant, we're divine, but that's cute. And the reason why they call us the dominant race is because all other cultures are recessive to our genetic DNA. Once you start working on divinity and divine principles, and you look at metaphysics, you look at biology, you look at science, you look at mathematics, you look at reality, astrology, astronomy, and such, you'll start to realize, REALEYES, that the entire problem with Black people, right, is not the color of our skin and pigmentation and melanin and all this other layman's terms, right? This is just an idea that the sun is just trying to target me, right? I need to be seen, right? So the sun is like, get her in her skin, right? Get the Black people in their skin. The sun is just needs somewhere to direct itself, and it's just finding itself. And so we can't go against, right, reality of this divine principle that we are and that we exist. So I always tell people to start with the divine. The divine can explain to you many, many other things, right? We have a moon. The moon is a satellite, a natural satellite. What do satellites do? They communicate information. Who's the moon communicating to and about what, right? The sun is here to what? Grow us and give us light and all that stuff. So who is the sun targeting? Black people, obviously, right? It's because we obtain the sun. So I started looking outside of humanity for answers, because humanity is not treating each other well. So I'll give one solution and one solution only, because there's many, right? I thought it was wealth. I thought it was business. I thought it was entrepreneurship. I thought it was unity. I thought it was togetherness. I thought it was sensibility. I thought it was religion. I thought it was spirituality. I thought all these things, and I've tried them all. I've done them all, and I work very well within them all. I thought about the legal system. I've become a politician. I've done it all. And none of that really works. The one thing that I've seen work more than anything is when I'm in my divine self and I know that I'm bigger and greater than this life that we exist in. And so I just ask people to get onto their divinity, research themselves, learn themselves inside and out, know what makes you tick, close your eyes and see what's going on inside of there, internalize, externalize, analyze, whatever you want to call it, but really look at the sense that you're divine. And you can call me a Black woman, right? Because I have ovaries and dark skin, but I'm really divine. And until I see a checkbox on any application asking about my demographic, pedigree, and creed that says divinity, I'm not checking anything. So that's my personal stance against all of this stuff. I'm just done. Again, I'm not tired, I'm done. So I'm not checking any boxes. I'm not playing the game. If you ask me what color I am and where I come from, our family came from the Creek Nation, and we come from Ghana and the West Indies and Barbados, and I can name all that stuff all I want. But where did we really come from? I came from some divine place. So I'm looking for that because I'm done playing the earth games. Because, you know, they'll try to control you by your skin tone, by your voice. Is she a angry Black woman? Listen to how she's talking. Look at her hair. She doesn't like herself because she wears weave or lashes or whatever they're going to say. I have on no makeup, but, oh, she's wearing a pound of makeup. She's not happy. Whatever they want to say, they're going to say. One thing they can't touch is my divine personnel. And they don't even know where I come from. And that's the thing. Being ubiquitous is the only answer that I see. And honing in on being ubiquitous is my answer. And it doesn't mean that I'm not going to go forth and do a lot of earthen things. But that's the one thing I want to leave with people, is to search for their divine principles and their divine self. And that's one solution that I feel will help a lot of people out that may not understand what I'm saying. But I'm speaking it anyway because I know what I'm saying.
Awesome. That's strong. What about you, big bro? How do you
Yo, it's hard to follow what Dr. O just said because that's reality. You dig? Like I'm on that too. The space. You know, you heard what I said about the mothership, but you know, in this earthly realm, and even with what Dr. O was saying, I think even that the education of who we are is very important. So many people, you know, our history has been tattered, destroyed, hidden, reshaped, rewritten by everybody but us for so long, you know what I'm saying? So I do feel like the world well, let me say it like this. I do think the powers that be are well aware of who we are and what we are. I think they've been that for a long time. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's where part of the problem of what has gone on for the past 400 or so years comes from. That reality check of who these people are. You know what I mean? So our people being better educated on who they are, where we come from, what we really supposed to stand for, is very important. But as far as the earthbound elements of all of it, again, I don't think there's no one set answer. I think there's many things that have to be targeted, from the judicial system to the educational system to the economical side of it, to even just our understanding and supporting our own. Because even amongst this, we have some Black people that are saying we should leave this alone, or we should this, or we should that. And you would think that's crazy. Like, I had a friend that worked on the documentary for Wilmington on Fire, and for every white person who was telling him to shut it down for this reason and that, there was 2 Black people telling him to do the same. And you're like, wait a minute, so you don't want this truth, the real story out here? Because some of our people have been conditioned so much. But I think ultimately there's a slew of systems of things that have to change and be restructured. And I think, you know, that's a long conversation that we could have another time. But just to put it in perspective, yeah, we need to change the entire structure of it all. The education, the punishments, the accountability. You know, if somebody feel like they can do something, if you're not a truthfully moral person, if you feel like you can do something and get away with it, a lot of people will just do and get away. You know what I mean?
Mm.
But if there's no checks and balances, if there's no accountability, if there's nobody standing there saying, "Oh, that's the energy you put forth. You put your knee on somebody's neck. We putting two knees on yours." Whether it be the powers that be or the people, I think all these things have to start happening simultaneously. And this belief that we got to be Democrat or Republican, or we got to be this or that, like this, the whole structure has funneled us into this one wave, and it's much, much bigger than all that. So I think the entire system, the whole structure needs an overhaul. And us as a people, we definitely got to become more aware of the value of who we are, what we are, and where we come from. You know, I think that'll help us to take a stronger stance, and also to let them know that we know who we are. We've always known, and those who didn't, we're educating them. And now you can't have an excuse. I keep hearing people say, white people especially say, "Oh, all I know is this about slavery. All I know is this about prior to slavery, because our lives didn't start at slavery." You know what I'm saying? It's not like America was born and then there was black people working in fields and building shit, building stuff. Forgive me, I'm sorry. But you know, that's the way it's painted a lot of times. Like everything started there, and it's like, nah, it goes way beyond. This whole system that you've taken and twisted to your needs came from structures that pre-existed by other groups of people that weren't you. You know what I mean? So, and I know I jumped around a bit, but you know, and all, I'm just saying that we need people in different places. We need people getting ready for the mothership when it comes. We need people infiltrating, you know, being the spook that sat by the door, and gaining that knowledge and insight and infiltrating and changing these structures over here, setting up new structures over there. Like it's a system of things that I think need to be in play. And every time we've attempted on some scale to do that, we know what happened in the past. So now we got to be even smarter about how we make those moves. Or while the world's eyes are watching and saying that they're active to be with us, pulling those cards and saying, "All right, we're going to make this move. You still with us? You still putting up the Black Lives Matter? You still showing the black blocks on Instagram? You still doing this? You still like, now's the next move. You with it? Let's go." You know what I mean? So
Awesome. Cool. I'm the U-Town. I think we're still good on time. I think Zoom is being gracious. They sent me the thing to say they extended the time for it. So we are good. Otherwise, it should have ended up.
That's that divine power kicking in right there. That Dr. O was talking about.
That's exactly what it is. God knows what the people need to hear. So they're like, "Nah, this should have ended 8 minutes ago, but y'all get unlimited time. Let the people hear it." Cool. I think you muted, T-Spice.
Shoot. All right, here we go. Yeah, I was talking the whole thing. All right, so first off, I'm so grateful to be on this platform with such phenomenal minds. You guys are really awesome in your perspective and in your earnest desire to help the community and really spread awareness to different things and different perspectives. I was afraid that I was going to be the only one that was like, you know, you got to love, you got to change your mind, you got to, you know, I thought I was going to be the woo-woo one, the metaphysics and stuff, but I think you guys knocked it square out of the park. You know, when you say that the solution is, it's partly outside of you, but it's mostly inside of you. And I think that our job and our task is to truly get in touch with ourselves. Who are we? What do we like? What do we love? What excites us? Have a clear vision for our future, and develop a passion, you know, that we can follow and put ourselves on a mission, or decide that we were put here on earth for a mission, and get in touch with that divinity, you know, meditation, affirmations, all of these different things. And to piggyback on what Dr. O said, that she tried spirituality and politics and wealth and becoming you know, building a certain amount of wealth. And none of those things worked. I don't know that it is not those things. I think it might be a combination of those things. And I think that by finding who you are, I think we're going to find different people that fit into those roles, and they're actually passionate about it. Because I'm on a mission to inspire 1 million people to have the guts to follow their guts, because I believe when you believe in yourself, you make the world a better place. So I think it's all about finding out who you truly are. Pro tip: who we truly are didn't start in Africa. Yes, Africa was one of the stops along our journey, but we need to really get all the way back, go as far back as you possibly can to get down to your true essence, to figure out what is making your molecules move. What is the atoms? What is the energy going through your body? Like, how does all this stuff work? Psychology, mental health, all of these things are super important. What role do we play in the grand scheme of things, not just in this country, not just with our social constructs, my race, my gender, my religion, all of these different things are just constructs, and I'm not sure that I want to see them crumble, but I do absolutely want to see us transcend them, because we're so much more than just Black people. In fact, I'm starting to identify less as Black and more as gold. Yeah, I mean, if we could be Black, why can't we be gold? Why can't we shine like gold? Why can't we be valued like gold is valued? But I understand that might trigger a lot of people, because our identity runs so deep to these ideas that have been perpetrated upon us for so many years. And I think it's the acceptance of what we've been given that is our biggest downfall. Instead of having the courage and the bravery to say, no, skip that. This is what it's fitting to be. Like, no, I don't have to be broke. I can make $1 million if I want to. No, I don't have to accept or vote between two people in a election. I'll run myself. And matter of fact, T-Spice for president 2020, I got 10 people voting for me. So like, I'm not just talking about it. I try to be an example of speaking things into existence, betting on yourself, because at the end of the day, as far as we know, you only got one shot at this, right? I think it's the best strategy that you can have is say, I'm going for it. Gotta have the guts to follow your guts. And I think that's ultimately the solution, to realize that we're far more powerful than anybody has ever told us, and probably a lot more powerful than we could even imagine ourselves, and to jump into that rabbit hole, test it out, and see just how powerful we are.
Awesome. Cool. Y'all are phenomenal, man. I love it. I'm glad we can have this discussion. Just like you was talking about your thing, to have the guts to follow your guts. With Elite Minds, our slogan is next level results require next level thinking. And man, I'm glad I can have you guys this next level thinking on this platform. Oh man, I can truly say I'm excited for anybody that gets to listen in on this. And I had no clue how this was going to go. My wife was scared. She was like, I don't want it to be this heated debate going everywhere. I was like, I don't know how it's going to end up, but it's cool. And, just see we all come from a different perspective, different background.
Yeah.
And one of the things that really bugged me this whole time is, what do we have to do to create change? And I'm glad the perspective you all brought it in, because I'm listening to people say, we got to set this law. We need this person elected as a president. And I'm like, but that don't get rid of racism. Like, racism is an inner decision, an inner battle. Like, you can't change the inner workings of a person's heart and their soul by putting somebody in the office or making a law that they was breaking anyway. So it's just, how do you deal with the hate inside somebody's heart? And you guys are right. Like, that's an individual effort. You got to get deep inside yourself. And the scary thing is, I think to go another level is people have to bring an acceptance of themselves as well. Because I think so many of these people, they look inside themselves and they see something in us that they don't see in them. Therefore, they use that as, all right, I'm going to remove you from the situation then. And I just encourage everyone to dig deep into yourself, find that peace. I know each of us, we're open for these discussions. But I guess I'm just going to open up the floor. Any final thoughts before we sign off? Anybody?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think, first of all, congratulations to you for Elite Perspectives, for coming out. I'm so grateful that you don't normally speak out, but you decided to speak out. And I believe that the people that tune in, your audience base, is going to be respectful of that. I think a lot of people are ready to say something, even if it's do something, even if it's see something. Now people are ready for these conversations. So kudos to you for being brave and having us all on. You didn't know what we were going to say and how we were going to say it or where we were going to come from. But I think this distributes our very nature, right? So the three of us, right, your guests, are not going to, represent 1,052,000,000 people, but we're close to it by showing that our nature is not of evil, of evil intent. We will go there because we can all grow into protective mode if we needed to be. But this calm nature that you see before you, this divine nature that you see before you, this is who we are. We will have to step up and step out, and we will have to convert this energy. And the last thing I want to leave people with is the film Avatar. And when I'm watching the film Avatar with the blue people, right, which are basically native,
which one? Yeah.
right, which are basically the natives and African people, right, truly. There's no mistaking that. They made sure to make sure that you knew that they were Black. You knew they used Black characters. They wanted you to know this, that these blue people were these Black people. And the information that was given was, you're shooting bows and arrows with firepower coming against you, and airplanes and helicopters and bombs coming against you, and you guys are using bow and arrows. I would just ask that you kick these people off of your planet and you don't use bow and arrows, right? You use your divine principles. It's the same thing that they decided to do, is they went to divinity. They were even afraid to go to divinity, and they had to. They used birds and they used arrows and they used this and they used that. It wasn't until they went to divinity that divinity spoke up and rose up. So I just ask that you ask for something higher than yourself, greater than a weapon, for a power within you that you don't even know about, like T Spice just talked about. Do not be afraid to tap in. Do not be afraid to exist out, and do what you know best. And I use that movie as an example. And I feel like we can connect to something within that film. If it's as much as you watching certain parts of it or the whole film, I don't care. But that's what I would like to leave you with, because those people got those people off their entire planet. It wasn't, oh, you get to stay here and live by our rules. It was, you have to leave the entire planet because your nature doesn't mix with ours. And sometimes we have to think about that. I'm not talking about one culture in specific. I'm talking about anybody who chooses to disrespect humanity. While I'm in this avatar, I need respect on my avatar. So I just leave that with you.
That's dope.
So, put some respect on my avatar.
Hashtag.
Get off my planet. Get off my planet.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I'm for final thoughts for me, if it's cool that I go next.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Again, I'm super grateful to be included in this conversation. I believe that your vibe attracts your tribe. So when I find myself in situations like this, it truly makes me proud of where I come from to where I am, and it gives me a little glimpse into where I'm going. And from the looks of it, we're going straight to the stars. So I'm super excited, super grateful for that. But I think that it's very important that people take from this. Well, I think Albert Einstein said it. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure Albert Einstein said you can't fix a problem with the same thinking that created it. Yeah. So I think that is super important that we realize, while we want to vote and we want to show up in numbers and unity and do all these things externally, that we're still operating in a system that is creating the problems that we're experiencing. And it's super important to change the system. We need to be innovative. And to be innovative, we have to transform who we are. So it's not about just going out and voting on one day, but it's about, what are you thinking about on a daily, hourly, minutely, secondly basis that is manifesting who you are. You know, I think it's super important that we pay attention to what we choose to identify with. And if you want options, I recommend divinity. Identify with being divine, with being light, with being energy, with understanding how energy moves and interacts with other pieces of energy, other forms of energy, because that's ultimately what I've discovered this whole entire experience is just a bunch of energy, frequency, and vibrations dancing around with each other. And if you can understand that, you can manipulate it to truly create the reality that you decide to live in. And it's important for people to tap into that understanding, because it's greater than your neighborhood, is greater than your family, is greater than your country, is greater than anything that can be found on earth. And it's a power that you have access to if you decide to let go of the good for great. And that's another thing we're going to go on forever, but quit your job because it's in the way.
Yeah, indeed. Man, first and foremost, very good to meet Dr. O, T Spice. You know what I mean? It's always good to meet. There's so many of us in this world that we may never cross paths, but when certain things happen, unfortunate that it would be something like this. You know what I mean? But still, when those energies get to cross, is always a wonderful thing. And it also opens up hope, because you realize how many other people are on certain paths and making these moves, decisions, choices, conversations. Because sometimes you start to feel like, maybe I am crazy talking about these motherships and this energy and all these other things out here, because other people looking at you like, oh, you lost me with that one, bro. You know what I'm saying? But then you come back to understanding, like, so many of us haven't been taught how to even sit down and have a conversation with self. You know what I mean? A real honest reflection of self. And I think that's the problem with the other side as well. Like, or again, they've had that conversation. They know the realities and they want to fight against what could be. Like, I really have it made up in my mind that a long time ago, somebody saw just how divine and powerful we were and said, no, never again will we let them grow to that place. Because if they do, it's over. It'll actually be a peaceful world if they can get back to who they were. So we got to tear that down. You look at every other group of people on the planet and you have to ask yourself, why was so much energy put on negativity towards us and our energy? You know what I mean? And these are the only conclusions I can come up with. Maybe my brain just doesn't have the capacity to calculate it all yet. I'm not sure, but it just doesn't make any sense beyond that to me. You know what I mean? But I do think the universe works on a certain vibe. I mean, everything you look at ties back into that concept and that idea. Spirituality has always been very important to me. You know what I mean? Being grounded in certain elements and certain things, which meant I had to move past growing up in the South. My grandparents and great grandparents looking at life as being this one thing and this one construct and say, wait a minute, there's something else to this. There's something that goes beyond all of this. No disrespect, but there's something more, and making sure that I help break that chain of the same activities with my kids. So hopefully they'll break it with their kids and others that we come in contact with. But, at the end of the day, my biggest message is always, stand up, stand strong, and inspire as best you can. Be inspired and inspire as best you can. Like, Jeremy, you know me, I'm always about the upliftment and education of our people, and pushing the idea of not just let me give somebody something, but let me show you how to build so you can pass on to others to do the same. You know what I mean? It's a necessity. Coming up where I came up, we didn't have a lot, and we depended on each other to continue to survive and thrive. And I think a lot of those morals have been lost as we grow into, people are enticed by these other aspects. Of course, right now in this form, we need money to pay these bills. Until we get on the mothership and we can fly away, we got to eat and we got to do all these other things. But we can't get so caught up in that aspect. There was a, and not to kill too much time, but there was a artist who my son brought to me, was like, yo, what you think about his music? And I come from that other era where it's about lyricism and concepts and this, that, and the third, but I also understand having a good time and yada, yada, yada. So I'm really listening to the kid's music, and I'm like, yo, he really got some deep thoughts in here, but his answer every time comes back to the material world. He comes back to money. He comes back to how my man just died, but I got this Louis bag. And I'm like, so did you put your man in the Louis bag and bought him back or something? Like, I'm not really understanding how that solves the problem. And then you realize, we've been struggling so long. We've been broke internally so long. And then we turn around and we're broke in society for so long that some people can only see the financial gain as the way to get to this other plateau, this other level. And that's very unfortunate. So it's our job, you know, I'm not an elder, but I'm an elder to certain people. And I consider it my job to try to keep passing this other insight and these other paths and these other opportunities. And, you know, hopefully see people do the same so that we can get ourselves onto a certain accord. And I don't know what the time frame of that happening is, but, you know, so we can really gain an understanding of who we are and filter out the things that are stopping us from even getting to that place. You know what I mean? Which again, a lot of that comes back to what's already been said, self-reflection and getting to know who you are, you know. And then whether the opposers see themselves for what they are or not won't really matter, because we'll be elevated to this whole other place. You know what I mean? So, you know, I greatly appreciate being able to be here. Greatly appreciate meeting you too, Dr. O, T Spice. You know what I mean? Like, if y'all ever need me on any level, I'm there. If somebody, you know, again, I'm not for the violence, but if somebody got an issue and y'all want to take that smoke, let me know. I'm all for it, or I'll have somebody be there for it. Like, we still good on that side. You know what I mean? And of course, Jeremy, you know what it is always with me, bro. Like, forever and always.
Yay.
Awesome.
Love.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. I got to jump off of here, but you guys are amazing. T-Spice, you know, we're connected, but Wally, I'll get connected with you through Jeremy as well. Want to keep the conversation going and support each of you as much as I can. So thank you all, for real.
Awesome.
Indeed. Love and respect.
Okay, love and respect. Peace.
Cool. See ya. Awesome. And I think that's pretty much with all of us. Everybody watching, we're in the recording discussion. See you guys next time.